Hi there. Why is it when you get into your 40s and then, like me, into your 50s, that everything just starts to feel a bit off? You don't feel like yourself. Everything changes, your body changes, your skin changes, your moods change, your hormones change. And, things that we used to prioritize, things that used to be important to us have changed. Maybe we no longer care, quite frankly. Um, Life can just start to feel a bit of a drag and a bit difficult. So, what I want to do today is just have a little chat with you about some of the things that I'm really trying to work on, prioritize, or continue prioritizing to support me in my health in this period of my life, both my physical and mental health, and just generally support my wellness and look after myself the best I can, really. So, if that resonates with you, welcome. Sit down with me and let's have a chat about how strange, sometimes awful, sometimes confusing, exhausting, but also quite energizing in a strange way sometimes this period of our lives can be. So, my focus and priorities and what's important to me has really changed over the last few years. Um, and I think a lot of that stems from sometimes I feel physically and emotionally a lot worse than I did a few years ago. But then, in a lot of ways, because of the changes I've made with my diet and my weight loss journey, I feel a lot better. So, I can sometimes feel on top of the world and sometimes I'm really confused. So, the first thing that really comes up with things I want to prioritize on, and I am trying to prioritize, is good quality food and cooking and, nourishing myself. Um, I am lucky enough to be able to, I guess, afford some good quality food, and not everything, of course. We budget as much as the next person, but I won't make compromise on what I consume, even if that means I have to, cut out some other things. Um, from what I've discussed on here before, what's really important to me is eating whole foods, natural foods, really nourishing myself to the best way I can to support my health. Um, I'm vegan, so a lot of what I eat can be quite reasonably priced versus some of the other stuff I have, which is really quite expensive, but it balances out. But yeah, I focus on that. I focus on giving myself the time to make interesting, healthy meals, and they're not always things that take very long. And they're not always very complicated, but I do take the time to make sure I'm eating well, because in the past I would kind of feel harassed and rushed and I would opt out of that and I would just eat toast and, you know, very bland, repetitive stuff that wasn't good for me. So that's number one. Second thing, rest, sleep, napping. I think it is the bane of every middle-aged woman's life. My sleep patterns have changed dramatically since I've been in menopause. I've gone through all sorts of phases, waking up in the early hours. At the minute, I seem to wake up every 2 or 3 hours. I'm I'm not always tired, let's be honest. I'm often tired or unexpectedly tired. I still feel like I'm having some sort of menstrual cycle, even though I'm not. I get these periods where I'm exceptionally exhausted for no reason. So I am getting to bed earlier. Sometimes I'm quite bad at getting the light turned off early. I'll start looking at YouTube, let's be honest. But what I am trying to prioritize is rest when I need it, naps when I need them. Again, I work from home, so I can have a nap if I need to. Getting up to bed earlier, just even if I'm not actually getting to sleep earlier, I find that I really want to go upstairs and start winding down, doing my sort of nighttime, take my makeup off, take it slowly to get into bed, maybe have a herbal tea or something, and then have a read. Because I think, I need it physically, and I found that I need it mentally. I don't know if anyone else has had this. I find that I have developed a certain level of anxiety at night, I've spoken with my GP in the past about it, and I've also discussed with other women and seen online that I think that is a symptom of menopause. And sometimes it's really strange. Sometimes I just want to be, I don't know, I want to be kind of safe in my bed kind of early, about 9:30, which is very early for me. I've always been quite the night owl. So I'm prioritising that. Something I do need to also work on though is getting that light turned out earlier. I've been a lot better than I used to be. I used to be one of these people that would be, excuse me, awake till 1 o'clock in the morning or later. I have got an awful lot better at that. And getting into more of a routine of getting up at a similar time each day. So what's the next thing on my list? Exercise, that old favourite, exercise and movement. Now, I have been on and off with exercise all my life. I swore I would never go back to a gym, because what I really got into over the last sort of 10 to 15 years was doing more work with a personal trainer or doing classes. I used to quite like doing classes, especially things like high intensity interval training. Then, as I think I mentioned on a previous video, I had issues again caused by menopause, of a frozen shoulder, then another frozen shoulder, which took me out of the gym for a while. I have found in this new era of my life that high intensity cardio training just doesn't suit me. It feels like it gets my cortisol too raised. It's too hard on my body. I've had a lot of menopausally related joint issues. I am a bit hypermobile, so I have some problems with my elbows and wrists and fingers anyway, but that has been exacerbated by menopause. And all of that sort of jumping up and down, doing burpees and all that sort of stuff. I just don't want to do it anymore, let's be honest. I don't want to, I don't like it, and it feels too hard on my body. So earlier this year, I actually went back and joined a gym, because I was very conscious that in our 40s, 50s, 60s onwards, it's very important that we maintain muscle mass. I'm aware that I've probably lost muscle through losing weight. Unfortunately, muscle comes off, I think, more easily than fat. And having lost around 7 stone over the last 2 years, even though I did it very gradually and very healthily, obviously some of what I lost was muscle. So I decided to go back to the gym, and I literally just do weight training at the gym. Not super duper heavy or anything. I'm not a weightlifter, but and what I found is I've actually grown to really love it. Even on the days when I don't feel I can be bothered to go, I know that once I'm there, I really enjoy it. Now, my goal is only to go 3 times a week. Sometimes, because of circumstance, it's twice a week. I do try and do cardio out of the gym. I've got to be honest, I'm a little bit slack with it. What that usually involves is just being on my feet a lot, being kind of busy in the house, walking. I like to walk. I like to get out and do long walks. And another thing that I sort of try and incorporate in my everyday life is this thing that I've heard referred to as exercise snacking. So sometimes, for example, whenever I go upstairs, or if I come across a big set of stairs when I'm out, I always try and run up them as quickly as I can. I'll maybe do some press-ups against the work surface while the kettle's boiling. Little things like that. And that's not only been helpful for my exercise, but it's also been helpful for my all or nothing thinking, where I've often been like, well, unless I go and do an hour at the gym, there's no point doing anything. And that's stupid, really, isn't it? Because getting those little bits of exercise in are actually meant to be very good for us. I try and get up off my bum as much as I can in the day, so I'm standing, walking around, not just sitting all day. But to go back to the gym, what I have found is I have slowed down with what I do at the gym. I don't rush. I used to go in and it would be, how quickly can I get this done? And what I have found, it has become I mean, it sounds silly, but it's almost become like a safe, relaxing space for me. I go to one of these gyms where it's these 24-hour gyms, where no one bothers you, no one looks at you, no one cares, certainly no one's looking at me. You go in, I do my own thing. Um, I when I first started, I sort of planned a little bit what I would do in a little notebook. I don't really have to do that now because I do feel motivated once I get there. But I take my time. I do the weights that I want to do. Then I do some exercises on the gym floor, like some sit-ups and things like that. I've been trying to carry heavy weights around because that is meant to be very good for us in this age of our lives, so we don't lose that strength. And then I take a really nice, relaxing time to do stretching. Um, and I have just found it, I don't know, something's clicked with me again. I used to find that I needed a class, someone telling me what to do, whereas this feels like I've taken ownership of it again, and I've taken control and I'm doing it my way. And I have seen some results. My weights have increased over the last 6 months, what I can lift. Um, I can see some more muscle definition, certainly not massive muscle growth. But I can see that I've improved a little, and yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. And I think maybe it sounds the wrong thing, but I don't, I no longer do what I don't want to do, and I don't want to go down the gym and go on the treadmill or go on a bike or go on a step machine, so I don't do it. I go for walks, run upstairs instead at home. Anyway, I don't know if you found some exercise that really suits you, but I think whatever you can stick to is the best form of exercise to do, isn't it? Okay, let me just look at my notes. So number 4 that I'm prioritizing in this period of my life is treating myself, I think, to nice days out, nurturing friendships, community, saying yes to things. Um, just taking small pleasures. I used to sort of be a little bit, I can easily still, let's be honest, overcomplicate things and try and make plans, and then I almost like spiral out and never get it done. Whereas actually just a simple day out with Stuart, or going out for a mooch around somewhere. I mean, we live in London, so there's absolutely loads of places on our doorstep that are lovely to go and visit. I go out with friends, go to an art gallery or something. It doesn't have to be expensive, they're free, a lot of the big galleries and museums. And really prioritising, trying to get out as much as possible so I'm not stuck at home, I'm not getting in my own head or getting a bit fed up. If someone invites me out, I try and say yes as much as I can. But what I'm also doing is knowing when to say no, when to avoid stressful situations, stressful people, over explaining myself if I don't want to attend something or don't want to go something. So yeah, I just think if you can find what socially or in an entertainment sort of way gives you fun, pleasure, gives you a sense of well-being, that's, I just think allowing ourselves to have that time to ourselves, or time with friends and family and loved ones, it really helps me. And I try and be mindful of it in the moment as well, and actually say, oh, I'm having a nice time, because for so many years I couldn't wait for things to be over, because then it would be done and I didn't have to think about it anymore, which is a really odd attitude, I'm aware, but I've heard other people say it too. Anyway, that's that one. So what's my next one? Skincare. Oh my God. I hit perimenopause mid-40s and my skin went to absolute hell in a handbasket. I don't know. I used to have, I was supposed combination skin. My skin now is, I have patches that are extremely dry. I started to get these lots of little tiny spots all over here that I couldn't get rid of. I still have them. I still have red marks here in these sort of lines. I've got a little spot on my nose today. I mean, I have tried to put a bit of makeup on for this, but my skin radically changed once I got to my mid-40s, and I struggle now, even though I'm really trying to take care of it. I've had to completely change my makeup routine because powders and things, or slightly, I never wore heavy foundation, but anything with a bit of a coverage, I could just see it sitting on my skin. It doesn't matter how much I exfoliate and oil and moisturize and everything. So what I'm trying to do is, I've always taken care of my skin, but I'm trying to prioritize. I've gone out and actually tried to find some new products that are a little bit more applicable to my age of my skin. And I have seen some improvements over the last 6 months. I started using a retinol cream at night. I use the Medicate one, Crystal Retinol, and I use a SPF 50 facial moisturizer every day. And what I found I do is I balance more pricey skincare, and I'm not buying it because it's pricey. I've just found that it's exceptionally good and it works with my skin. So my daily moisturizer and my retinol are quite pricey, to be honest. They're from that brand Medicate. But then I found that a lot of other things I can just use something from Superdrug and it works just as fine. My night cream, or if I've got a day cream, if I'm not going out and I don't need SPF, I've got a really reasonably priced eye roller thingy. And makeup as well. I'm not one to spend an awful lot of makeup, as long as it stays on and it's pretty nice. I like Barry M, or I like Superdrug, to be honest, for makeup. Or I have had and have got a few nicer pieces, but they're generally things that have been bought for me or whatever, because I don't wear makeup every day, because I work from home. So but looking after my skin has, I got a bit down last year because my skin was looking quite bad, and I thought it was never going to change, but it has improved a little bit. And I'm learning to work with this kind of new skin texture issues that I have, and who knows, maybe when I finally become postmenopausal it'll all change again. Anyway, so my last thing, number 6, is I am trying, and this is probably the thing that I have to work on the most actually, I am trying to prioritize getting back to the things that I enjoy. And I know we spoke about days out and friendships, but the things that I really enjoy to do just for me on my own, which would be things like art, crafting, reading, really. I used to read all the time. I now have the attention span of a goldfish. I mean, I just can't focus. I don't know if any of you other menopausal women out there have experienced this. I find it exceptionally hard to focus. I read a page, I read it again and again and again. And I know I've made this worse for myself by looking at the phone, looking at, Instagram and YouTube and that so much. It does affect our attention span. I've tried to address this I do force myself to read sometimes, simpler books maybe, things that are a little bit easier to read. And I've also started listening to audiobooks. I've always loved podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I'm listening to audiobooks as well because, again, it just makes it easier, really. It sounds lazy, doesn't it? But, I enjoy consuming that sort of stuff. And as I say, art and crafts, I ran my own business for years, making jewellery. I would consider myself an artist. I paint. Always painted, I've always done lots of crafty things, and I just found since I've been perimenopausal, I've lost my way with it. I can't seem to get the energy to do it, which is why I'm napping and resting. I can't seem to get the inspiration. And when I go out, say to a gallery, I feel filled with inspiration. I think, oh yeah, I've got to get my paints out, do this. And then I get home and I don't know, I just feel a bit deflated with it. And it makes me a bit sad because I feel like I've lost a part of myself. And it's something I feel almost guilty that I'm not doing. And then I think, well, that's stupid because it's a fun activity. I shouldn't feel guilty if I'm not doing it. But it is definitely something I want to try and get back into. I found for a while that doing simpler things, maybe doing craft kits, was helping because it was just a set project. I didn't have to think up the project. I would just do, I've got one up there, like a little diorama kits, or I can't even think now, but things that came in a little kit. Like I did a book nook, that was it. I made a little book nook. because when I paint, obviously it's all coming from my own creativity, and I was finding I was sitting just looking at the canvas thinking, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. And even to an extent with some of my other crafting. But I absolutely adore, I don't know if I've ever said this, but I adore Christmas. I'm obsessed with Christmas. And I do often find that that is a period of time for crafting that can motivate me. I got into last Christmas doing English paper piecing quilting, random. I quite enjoyed that, and I've definitely got some ideas for Christmas crafts. I want to do some paper mache things, and maybe some more quilting, and maybe some painting, maybe some painting around that, maybe making some Christmas cards and things. It gives me a focus because it's like for a specific thing. So that's something I really want to work on, because I feel like it's always been such a big part of me, and I don't want to lose it because it gives me a lot of pleasure, and I haven't replaced it with anything. It's not like I've replaced it with much, apart from exhaustion, let's be honest. Anyway, so I think in summary, what I'm trying to do, and what I'd encourage you to do too, of course, is keep prioritising the things that are important to you personally, that support your health, your physical health, your mental well-being, your general wellness, and just the ability to navigate this, let's be honest, very difficult and sometimes upsetting period of life. Everything's changing. We're all it's a funny age, I think, 40s, 50s. Some of us will have young children. I don't have children. Some of us will have kids that are, grown, going off to university. Some of us have got aging parents, and a lot of us we're working hard. We've got families. We've got a lot going on, whilst going through this sort of hormonal storm, and so much changing for us. So I think we need to step back and give ourselves some time, allow ourselves to do the things that make us feel great and nurture ourselves, look after ourselves, whether that is skincare, exercising, making yourself some really lovely, healthy, nourishing meals, going out with friends once a week, making sure you organise that outing once a week, doing some knitting or something, whatever it is that makes you feel calm and happy and nourished in your stomach, nourished in your mind and your body. So if there are things that you used to love doing and maybe you've stopped, or there's things that you'd love to try and you've never had the energy, time, confidence, whatever to do, maybe now's the time to have a think about it. And if what you want to do is just lie down on the sofa and have a good old nap and put the cover over your head, go for it. That's what I say. So, a bit of a rambly one today, a bit of a rambly old vlog, and I feel like I've got a few things off my chest. So, as I say, just keep looking after yourself. Let me know if you've got any weird, random menopausal symptoms or things going on. And, if you'd like to subscribe, that would be fantastic. And please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.